Hello everyone, this is Burr Stewart. I'm in my big model railroad, which you've all seen in various videos. And I'm going to do a little bit of layout evolution for you. Let me change the orientation of the camera. Now you can see this scene. And what we're going to do is I'm going to adjust the scene live on camera. And we'll see if you enjoy it. So what we have here, let me start by showing what we have here is that we're constructing a new and improved Lone Star cement in this area. You can see all the cement that Tim Smith has been working on. All the ties are weathered with cement droppings. And we had to tear out some old pavement, which is why we're now gluing on some new cork to make new scenery. But all of that got me thinking, this is going to be a shame to have a detailed model here and then have this other building right next to it. And now this just made me think, let's let the design of the layout evolve a bit. Now, can you see that all right? I think you can. So what I'm going to do is just make an adjustment here. And I'm going to start with this. This is a very nice building that I bought at a swap meet, mainly because it had a funny corner out of the side of it, and it was perfect for this little triangular spot. But we don't really need it anymore because we have plenty of oil paraphernalia here, and there's normally an oil tank spotted here. So what I'm going to do is move this oil stuff over to the right. And I may or may not keep these trucks right here. And I'm going to move maybe the East Side Oil office over here. I don't know. We'll decide whether to have it all lined up with the tank trucks. Maybe that's a better way to do it. And we need at some point to establish a loading plan for the tank cars that are there. But what this allows me to do, these little stairs go with that other building, and allow me to move this over. Oh, see, this is another East Side Oil building. Huh. See, I got too many buildings. Maybe what we'll do is get rid of this other one. See, this is the evolution of a layout. You don't start out knowing exactly how you're going to align things. So maybe that's the way to do it. And we'll come back to these tanks some other time. Now I want to move this overhead crane. I want to move it over a bay so that we can shift this building over. And all I want to show you is that when you have a layout, if you don't glue everything down, you have the option in the future of making little changes. And the change I want to make right now is to move this building over here just a few inches, like this, so that we have a little more room for the cement plant and possibly put some trucks or other stuff. This was just here because we had it, but we hadn't really thought it through. Now this isn't quite enough to move over there we go. And obviously, if we were doing this right, we would design it all in the first place. We would make this gantry crane, we could build it up the number of bays we wanted or anything like that. But I just wanted to show you that even when you look at my layout and think, wow, that's amazingly detailed or something, if the stuff isn't glued down, you always have the option to come change it. And what I wanted you to be able to see was that we got it changed over. And in the future, when you see my videos, you'll see trains coming through and you'll say, wait a minute, that's different from the last time I saw it. And you're going to be right. I've just made a change. This building is off to the right. We've got some room to play with here for this new scene that we're developing. And I'm very happy about that. I just wanted you to be able to see it, because it's going to be really confusing in the future when you see my videos. And I don't know, I think with that, let's see what the comments are. I could just log off right now, but let's just see what the comments are and whether there's anything we want to do before we sign off. Why am I not seeing the comments? Maybe there aren't any. Well, okay, fine. There don't have to be comments. But now that we're here, I guess we could walk around the layout, talk about some other things. I was thinking of making a real video of what I just did, and this is my fancy video tripod. But then I decided that I didn't have the time, so that's why we're doing a live stream. So here, this is a fancy, what's it called? Fluid head tripod. So you can put the camera on here and then slowly push it around. But we're not, as you see, we're not doing that. Oh, thanks, Graham. I see you're there. Are you from Australia? So anyway, you see the weights and so forth. And as you all know, this is the rainbow bridge that we use for turning trains at Skykomish. And all we do here is we grab it with a hand, pull it down. It's got a hinge over there, and then the trains run out. Now, this is a real bone of contention because it's extremely scary and dangerous to run a train over this. There's no protection. So if any of you have a good idea for a simple and easy way to build a couple of plexiglass strips along here, I'd welcome the input. Now, of course, this rock wall here is hiding a 2-track staging yard. You'd never know that unless you saw me do this. But inside there, if you look in there, you can see some tracks. And if I go in real careful, like, I don't know if I can get enough light on there. See the track? That's a hidden staging yard. That's a hidden staging yard down in there. So it's a very narrow peninsula. I mean, it's a very narrow knife edge piece of scenery with 2 tracks underneath it. And then, of course, on the other side is the other part of the layout. Gosh, I hope you can hear my audio. I'm not using microphones or anything. Yeah. I don't even have the lights on the rest of the room, so maybe I'll just do this end. So this rock cliff here was made by Eric Van Nice a number of years ago. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I was going to show you. This is as good a time as any, as long as you're hearing it. So this is removable scenery. Now, I did a video about this a while ago, but you'd never guess from looking at it that this is a removable piece of scenery. It just comes right out, and I can clean the track, or if we have a bad derailment in here, and get at it. And then this here is also a removable piece of scenery, this flat piece of plywood. I'm not going to pull it all the way out, but you can see that it's not attached, and I can get at the track down on this lowest level by pulling up that plywood. So I recommend, if you're building fancy tunnels or anything else, try to figure out some way to make them removable. This is a little scary. Can I do this without hitting those? There we go. And then Eric, who made these molds, he had the great idea of putting a little hole in the rock wall I don't know if you can see that. But he put the little hole in the rock wall so we could see the points on the turnout, which is right here. Kind of Mickey Mouse, but it does the job. While we're on the subject of Mickey Mouse, this is the Skagit River Bridge. And as you can see, if I had put water or scenery underneath here, I would have blocked the main part of the action here on the main line. So I didn't want to do that. So I just built a little L bracket down here. There it is, to support a little fake cement piece. That's just painted cement color. And that supports the two spans on the Skagit River Bridge. And it works. It's pretty cool. You've seen lots of, hopefully, you've seen lots of videos on my channel of trains going across this bridge on their way over to Burlington. So that's the Burlington yard there. Looks like it's all ready for action. Now this is another thing you may have wondered about. I'll just explain while I'm here. This limestone mine I completely made up, but it goes into the corner. See back there, there's a corner. And I thought there's room for 11 ore cars, and I just love ore cars. Why don't I just put a limestone mine in there and have ore cars? So what we do is we have some empty ore cars in the yard that are all ready to go. And you can see them here. And these are usually on standby in the Burlington yard. And then when the rock train comes through, which is a loaded train of limestone headed for South Seattle, it stops here and picks up these loads, making it a longer train than I have room for in staging. So that's that. Oh, another thing you might notice in some of the videos is that I forget to turn on, if we look down here, this light. I'm going to flip this light on, but when I do it, I want you to see what happens when I flip the light on. Bang! See, it turns on the light underneath this shelf, and that lights up the Argo yard. And you wouldn't believe how many times people come over here to visit, and we're looking at the layout, and I forgot to turn that light on. So one of these days, I'll set up a better lighting situation where I can just flip one switch when I come down to the basement, and all of the lights will come on. Now you can see I got carried away with this idea that you don't need scenery underneath a bridge, especially when you have a second deck and you want to keep switching in yards. So this is the Squamish River Bridge, and I did the same thing here. Just let the plywood stop right here, start up again down there, and we just bridge it with a bridge. I'm not saying any of this is good. I'm just saying it's what I did. And it's a fun railroad. We have a lot of fun running it. Whoops, sorry about that. I really apologize. So, as you know, the most important tool on a model railroad is a decent shop vac, which is right here since we've been using it for this construction that's over there. But I want to also show you the progress we made. Actually, Magnus Christensen is the one who made it. But he took some photographs of the Rainier Brewery and turned out this really tremendous little backdrop structure. It has a loading bay, and so we can run cars in and out of here. And we really feel like we're serving the Rainier Brewery, and it says Rainier Brewery on there. And that's the sign that came off the real brewery. So anyway, and then we'll detail this at some point and make it a little better. All we have now is a few pallets here to put some beer on, but we'll get a loading dock that makes more sense and some other things. But as you know, it's all very incremental when you have a layout this big. It's all you can do to make progress. then of course there's also the when we run the Pacific Zip, there's a nice video about that. When we run the Pacific Zip, we pull the cars out of the intermodal facility there, which is of course empty right now because we're doing construction. But another thing that Magnus did that I really liked and I want to show you is he built this Walther's kit for the gatehouse, the intermodal gatehouse. I'm just setting these, what do you call these cement bollard things? They're not bollards. There's a word for these. And anyway, this really looks good. And Magnus did this as well. He made the road with 2mm craft foam, and then we weathered it. It looks pretty good. Barriers, that's what they're called. Thank you. And yeah, they're cast cement barriers. So they give the scene sort of an official look. Although somebody told me that they didn't really invent these barriers until after 1973. So that's kind of too bad. But anyway, as you know, we do a lot of reality model railroading. I have a police officer here worrying about security in this little place. And it's just in the corner. Let me back up so you can see. It's just a little bit of a corner of the layout. And we had to have this knockout here so that we could build a bridge across to the other side and have a reversing loop. And this bridge just comes up. It's just hinged here. See, there's just a couple hinges in there. And then this comes over here, and I put a slider mechanism in there. Let me see if I can show this to you. This is the kind of thing it's hard to do on our fancy video. There's a slider there. You see that? And that's how we do that bridge. So we have this reverse loop on this end. And then up here we have the Rainbow Bridge at the other end of the railroad. So it's several hundred feet of main line between the two. At least 300, maybe 400. I don't know. It's a lot of main line all around this crazy basement on 2 levels. And I'm sorry I didn't turn the lights on the other part of the layout, but this is enough. You got a little bit of insight that I don't normally have time to talk about in my real videos, if you call them real. I guess you say my unreal videos. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to show you. And then I promised to stop. I just love this weathering job that J.J. Johnson did. And he passed away sometime in the last year. But he had a really nice layout, and this was a weathering job he did on a Kanotex tank car. And I love running it and thinking of J.J. Anything else you want to see before I shut her down? Things are a bit messy right now. We don't have much on the Milwaukee car barge, but I really like this steam tugboat that my neighbor made. Oh, very nice. We have a question. Where does your grade start to go up the hill? And no, there's nothing running. There are alcoves all over the place, but I don't have the layout turned on right now. But let me show you the grade situation. But first I'm going to turn on the lights. Note to self, don't start a live stream until you've turned on the layout lights. That's a little better. Oh, that's what I have to show you. Darn. Okay, I'll get right to the grade question in a minute. But now that we've got this far, look at this. I recently got some pictures that I had taken of the downtown Seattle skyline printed on styrene, and this is just a temporary setup right now, but look how good that looks. I just can't get over it. See, it's just temporarily sitting here right now. See? just on a piece of styrene. But the appearance of this city landscape is just fantastic. So we're gonna really improve the West Seattle and Harbor Island Lego Town area with these backdrops. And on the floor you can see the backdrops just laid out there, and it'll be really cool. But here, let me back up. You can see the scope of those backdrops. They're nice and long. I can't remember the maximum length. I think he said they were. See, here's another one just temporarily set up, but boy, does that make a difference when you have a photo backdrop behind your trains. Okay, so the question was, where does the grade start? So we go from Seattle over to Everett pretty flat, and then we got to the Delta Y, which is just past the Bayside Yard. There's the Bayside Yard, looking south. And then we go underneath this tunnel that I just showed you, and we have the Delta Y. See how that's a Y? There's a track that goes off to the right, and then there's a track that goes to the left, which is the straight route. And this, of course, is the Snohomish River Bridge over the Snohomish River. Now, this is where the grade starts, and that was the question. The grade starts right here. It's roughly at 2%. I tried to keep it under 2%, and it goes all the way around the back there. Pay no attention to that fancy tripod. Up this hill, up to the Burlington, up to the Burlington Yard, as you know. And then it goes from there. It levels off right here. The Burlington shelf is completely flat, so we can do all kinds of switching here for hours. In fact, I've told you that the operator of this Burlington yard usually takes about 6 hours to get all the work done in an operating session. And then the grade starts at the Paul Scholes Bridge down in the end and goes up the drop down. I'll show you this in a second, as soon as I get down here. So this is the other drop down bridge. We pull it out of the ceiling, we stick it on here, and then the grade here starts right at the end of the switch. And thank you. Right at the end of this switch, the grade starts up, and this is a really steep grade. I can't even tell you. I mean, I think this part of it is probably 3%. And then I think I figured out this here. What does it say? I wrote it down on the wall. I think it says 3.3% ruling grade. So that's the biggest grade on the layout right there. And that's going up to the Bellingham staging tracks over there. Now on the other route, we also come out of Delta Y. And this is looking from the other side at that same Y that I showed you before. So if you take a right at the Delta Y, if you're going north, you come out here at the Delta Yard, which, as you know, is over here. And it's a place we often fool around with narrow gauge and standard gauge and British 00 scale equipment, which this is a good example of. Robin Peel left this beautiful steam engine and a bunch of passenger cars. He left it over here for us to play with on Tuesday. So this is the Delta Yard, right? Where was I? Oh, the grade. So the grade starts here. This yard is flat. I apologize for the handheld jerkiness. Trying to hold it still, but it's not easy. Anyway, this is where the grade starts, right by my fancy crossing that I did. By the way, have you learned about these seed dispensers that you can get that are really good for applying ballast? We recently redid the ballast on this whole section of the low line all along here, which you've seen in a lot of the videos. But anyway, we have new ballast on here now, which is good. Anyway, this is where the other grade starts. And it goes around the peninsula. Gosh, I hope this isn't too horrible a video to watch with all my moving around. See on the back of the yard there, this is the main track. This is the main track here. Goes all the way up the side of the hill into that other tunnel that I showed you and across a big trestle. And we'll go over there. But that's where the grade starts. I mean, I've obviously gotten carried away. The question was, where does the grade start? And the answer is both grades start at delta y. And then this is the trestle that I mentioned. The main line, the eastbound main line to Minneapolis comes out here. It goes across the back of this knife ridge that I showed you from the other side that has the hidden staging tracks down underneath. And then this main line comes around to the side of the wall, and it goes to Mount Index, which you've seen a number of times. It goes along the wall here. Pay no attention to those diesels that are in Skykomish. It goes through a little tunnel, and it goes. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I didn't mean to do the entire layout, but why not? So then it goes around against the wall here, and it comes around by Mount Index, which isn't very well in focus, but it's there. And it comes around, there's Mount Index again, comes around this loop and across another very odd and interesting scenic feature, and it ends up in the Skykomish staging yard, and at the end of this yard is that rainbow bridge, which allows you to do a turnaround maneuver. Now I'll just show you this one more thing, and then I really promise I got to go have dinner. It's 6 o'clock here. But anyway, we didn't really have room for 3 decks here. We got the bridge, I've got the bridge removed at the moment, but this is the bridge number 4, Salmon Bay Bridge in Ballard, and on the main line, the double track main line that goes to Carkeek Park. We haven't been there today yet, but you know, you're familiar with this area. But the loop up to Skykomish came around here. We couldn't figure out what to do, so we decided to just put a retaining wall out in the middle of the air, support this bridge, and then, you know, have the scenery here, which is, you know, for this third deck, or I guess, depending on how you count them, second deck. And so this is another one of these bridges that's just hanging in the middle of the sky, but it does the job great of getting the trains across to the yard and not blocking our view here of the main line coming across, you know, on the lower deck. And then, of course, this lower track is the Ballard Branch, or the Fremont Branch it was called, and it goes around to a bunch of industries that we haven't really finished building yet against the wall. But there's Northwest Steel and Pipe, which is one of the companies that used to be very active in Ballard, as well as Salmon Bay Sand and Gravel, which is in the back against the wall there, and that's still there to this day. And yeah, so double-deck railroads give you a lot of opportunity for a long main line, that's for sure. Now this train is sitting on this other Paul Scholes bridge. This is an old kit for an HO bridge that Paul built and used for his SN3 layout. But anyway, what I wanted to show you, the reason that those cars are on the bridge there with the engine is because last week Dave was ballasting, finally, this section here of where there's the Grotto gravel pit, which is just before you get to Skykomish. So right now, of course, it just looks like empty track, but we will have those cars back here, and we'll, if you see over here, see, this is reality model railroading. That's the Grotto loading pit, which is normally over here, but since we were ballasting, we moved it. So I guess what you're seeing today is a model railroad under continuous evolution and construction in between the operating sessions, which look like so much fun when you see them on a YouTube video. Of course, another thing I haven't commented on for a while is that we really want to build these fancy sand towers for the Interbay engine house. And I'm glad you enjoy the videos, thank you. And we're working on these as a removable piece that can just go in there. And each one of these will have the what do you call them, the arms that come out so that you can get sand directly into the locomotive. And what we're planning to do is have them loose so that if you accidentally hit it with your hand, it'll just rotate the bar instead of breaking it off. So hopefully that'll work. I mean, when you have a real operating railroad, you have to design things so they're frangible. That's, I guess, the technical term for it. Again, I apologize for the bad audio quality of this, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I guess I'll close with a shot of the Squid Bridge. I have no idea what caused me to put this squid here, but once it was here, we couldn't resist setting up a couple in a rowboat, fleeing from the squid with the kids on the bank, freaking out that they're going to lose their parents and everything. Not to mention the danger to every one of these logs falling down the log chute. But anyway, we do have fun here, don't we? And I really appreciate all of you that are enjoying the videos and the comments you make. So keep them coming. And I guess with that, this is Burr Stewart wishing you much fun with trains.